Hello and welcome to Natural Balance. I'm your co-host, Mia Sines, and in this episode, you're going to meet Susan Ball. Now, I met Susan fairly recently, a couple months ago, in a love group, and it was exciting to meet her among other love people. But I'm really excited to bring this to you because she brings in the essence that I think is so important in relationships between men and women is to have yourself grounded and solid first. That is just the most magnificent place in order to produce a beautiful relationship. So welcome, Susan. It's great to have you.
Oh, thank you for having me, Mia. I'm really excited. I love talking about this.
Yay! So it ignites you, doesn't it? It's exciting. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, it's my passion.
Good. So before we get started, why don't you share with the audience a little more about your stuff that you do, because I didn't cover all of it. As everybody knows, I don't like to read biographies. I just love to talk on how I feel about people. So if you would share that aspect, that would be lovely.
Absolutely. I'm Susan, and I am a women's freedom coach and a self-love activist. And I work with women who have recently experienced ugly, toxic, abusive relationships, and they're wanting to learn about setting boundaries, self-value, which I am big about personal worth and personal value, so that they can have healthy relationships after that. I want women to live free from toxic love. And there seems to be an epidemic of that going on right now, especially emotionally toxic relationships that are just tearing women apart. So my passion is to get them inspired to live a life free from toxic love.
Beautiful. Now let's talk a little bit about toxic love and how it affects us and what we can do different, such as, sometimes women blame men. It's not just the man that produces the toxic love. Would you like to talk on the subject a little bit?
Yes, and this is a touchy subject for some people, but and I'm going to say this honestly and personally because I discovered it for myself. We are, in fact, a silent partner in what is going on. Mm-hmm. By not standing up for ourselves and not saying, hey, you know what, you have no right to call me that. Mm-hmm. And if you do it again, I'm leaving. We are virtually allowing, in quotes, that to happen. Now, a lot of people say that I'm victim blaming. I'm not. I look at it more as victim awakening. Mm-hmm. It's that moment when you say, hey, I'm in control. I set the tone of this relationship. And if he's talking to me like that or treating me like that, it's up to me to step into my value, step into my courage and say, no, that's not going to happen. Not acceptable. Because he's not going to change. You have to change your action and reaction.
Mm-hmm. It's really about self-responsibility, isn't it?
Yes. And a lot of women in these relationships, and I'm going to put that out there because it's the truth, are not taking self-responsibility. Mm-hmm. They're saying to me, but I want to fix him. I want him to change. He needs to change. He's not going to. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's not going to. And I just want to put a little caveat here. I am not talking about women in situations of domestic violence, which I like to separate the two. Mm-hmm. Domestic violence is a serious situation where women could be killed trying to leave somebody. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about this epidemic of just lousy relationships where women are putting up with chronic cheaters, abusive language, being treated like they are just pieces of garbage and have no value in that person's life. I'm talking about those types of relationships.
Mm-hmm. How do people get into these relationships? What are some of the places that you can share with the audience that they can recognize within themselves first that, oh, that sounds like me? What's going on in my relationship? Those trigger points that we can help people identify.
Right. For me, and I'm just going to share a little bit. I had 4 bad relationships before, and I was almost killed by the last one. Before I actually sat back and I was feeling very sorry for myself. Look at me, woe is me, everybody hates me. And then it dawned on me one day, it was like lightning went off. I said, hey, Susan, you're the common denominator. Mm-hmm. You're the common denominator. You're attracting this into your life. Mm-hmm. And that was a fact. And I had to go and figure out what that was. And I realized that I had abandonment issues from my childhood. So one of the 7 signs of a very toxic man is instantly he falls in love. I love you, baby. You're the best thing that ever happened. I will never leave you. You are the center of my world. Within 5 minutes, you are it. So for somebody like me who has abandonment issues or self-worth issues from childhood, somebody coming along and saying, I love you, baby, is like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Somebody loves me. And you have a hard time breaking away from it because you're desperate for that attention, for that love, for that security, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. And it's very interesting that you teach self-love, which is a catalyst that makes us, that creates a deeper, more fantastic relationship with someone else. I was a relationship coach in the very beginning and sexpert when I first started out coaching. And then I went into the self-love because it's what we needed. So that's why I love you do this too. It's what we needed in order to gain that powerful, empowered state of being. So let's talk a little bit about what the difference between and it's obvious, but people need to have examples. What a non-self-loved relationship is compared to a self-love relationship. And it's not just with yourself, I mean, with a partner.
Yeah, I think for me, and I like to express it as when you're in a healthy relationship, together, you're co-creating the rest of your life. You're not arguing about who's right or who's wrong or who's going to do it better. You're co-creating this vision, that you have together of the rest of your life. And yes, there's going to be differences of opinion. But the other important thing that comes out of a healthy relationship is that you grow together. You learn together. For example, my current husband, is a very, very nice man. So if somebody was broken down on the side of the road, he wants to go and help. And I was a very closed off person after all those bad relationships. But over time, I learned from him that kindness works. It's a good thing. But he also learned from me that sometimes he was too kind and it was interfering with his other things. So we learn from each other and we grow together. It's a completely different vibration. It's comfortable. Right. It's not critical.
It's beautiful that you brought that in. Yeah. Do you have some tips and tools that you'd like to share with people so that they can be interested to follow your work?
Sure. I have.
About the self-love and stuff?
Yes. Well, I have one thing that I love to tell my clients, a couple of things. One, confidence is not a big mystery. It's simply the memory of success. So I have all of my clients and friends keep success journals. And I'm not talking about the big things. We have this idea that we only celebrate the big things, graduating from university, new job, promotion, blah, blah. But we don't. We should be celebrating the little things, the tiny, the everyday things. Because every time you celebrate, your brain goes, yeah, look at me, look at me. And your confidence grows. Because that's what confidence is, memory of success. And the other thing I like to get people to do is, I know that there's a lot of work around standing in the mirror and saying, I love you. And that's great. I believe in that. But if your self-worth is so low, Mia, that other voice in your head is too loud for you to drown it out by saying, I love you. It doesn't matter how loud you say that. So I often suggest that people, women especially, give yourself a little flirt in the mirror, just a little wink. Just a little smile, a little wink.
And that's going to be hard for many women at first to do that. It's going to be painful. It's going to be hard. Yeah.
But there's no voice in your head because you're not saying words out loud for your mind to argue with.
Right.
It's an action, and actions start to recreate new neural pathways in your brain.
Yes.
Right? And you're not arguing with yourself. As soon as you utter the words, I love you in the mirror, your brain goes, yeah, right.
Right. Or I hate you. Yeah. The first time I did mirror work at 24, so 30 years ago, the first time I did mirror work, I said, no, I hate you. And I started crying. So I totally get it. And mirror work is a huge part, as everybody knows, of my work. You know, it's done differently than other people, and that's okay. You know, we all have our 5% that loves everything, and out of over 7 billion people. That's 350 million people that love us. So it's perfect. We all have this stuff. So I love that. What's another tool that people could use?
Another tool that people could use, start dating yourself. Start filling up all the voids in your life. What are the voids in your life? We all have them. I spent many New Year's Eves by myself thinking, I don't have a man, I'm a loser, I'm all of those things. But in reality, looking back on it, I could have just as easily started a ritual for myself for New Year's Eve that made my heart sing and made me feel good about myself and knew it was okay. So go to the movies by yourself. Don't wait for somebody else. And for heaven's sakes, ladies, you want flowers? Buy them.
Yes.
Buy them, because you need to go into a relationship where there's no holes, where you are comfortable filling up all the gaps in your life so that he can become your co-creator instead of this person that you're relying on to fill up all of this empty space that you have. Exactly. I just can't say that strongly or loudly enough, because he can't. It's impossible. And you'll end up frustrated and hurt.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I was dating this guy in between boyfriends and husbands and all that. So it's funny. But we know how it is, right? As we get older, we get to experience a lot of great stuff. And I used to always, I always have orchids on my desk, and throughout the house I would have things, and he would come over and say, who bought you this stuff? Thinking it was another guy. And I'm like, I did, because, and then when I met my husband, my second husband, it was amazing, because when he brought me flowers, it wasn't this desperation of, oh, when are you going to do it again? It was like, oh my God, to be down on, I opened the door, he's down on his knees with flowers, the first time he did it. And I was just like, wow, that's really cool. That was really, because you're right. I filled myself in that area. So in every area, we need to fill the places that we want filled.
That's right. So if you're sitting at home and you're feeling sad or lonely or something that is missing, sit with and figure out what that is so you can fill it for yourself. If that means going out with friends or joining an art class or volunteering or whatever it is, fill it for yourself. Right. Be fulfilled in your life.
Fabulous. Now let's talk about boundaries. Boundaries.
Boundaries. You know what I find interesting about boundaries, Mia, and is that many women that I work with and I talk to think they have them, and they do, but what they don't have is the courage to back them up. Because I will hear women say, oh, if he ever cheated on me, I'm out of there. Oh, he's cheated on you 3 times.
And you're still there.
And you're still there. What happened to you? I'm out of there.
Yeah.
So it's either a boundary or it's a squiggly, maybe phantom line in the sand that could go either way. You got to set boundaries. You got to know what you will accept and what you won't accept in that relationship.
Right.
And you have to have the courage to back it up.
Well, for most people who are spiritual, at least, we understand that when we take those steps, we may not want to act on it. We think, oh yeah, we want to do it. But then when we actually take them, it's like, But when we take those steps, the universe conspires with us. So as we take those steps, we're being held and supported and loved, and something greater is coming through. Don't you just love that?
I do, because it's interesting as I went through my healing journey and as I watch people go through theirs, and it's scary at first to let go of that victim mentality, to let go of all of that stuff, to go inside and heal that child wound and figure out what it is that's attracting all of this rubbish into you, all of those things. But at the end of the day, when they come out of this and they do the work, and I came out of it, it's just a brilliant light. It's the one thing I always say, if I had to do my life over again, I would have got that self-love thing out of the way a long time ago.
Yeah.
But nobody talked about that.
They didn't. And then as people like you and I love it, because listening to you, it melts my heart, because we have similarities in our work, and that's beautiful. So thank you for being that catalyst for change for men and women to be able to step into that. Because when we approach this, like how you're saying, it really does shift and change who we are on an interior level. And that is so powerful. And we want everybody, you and I don't do this kind of work because we pulled it out of a hat. We do it because we love it. We do it because we worked it. We do it because it's amazing. So I'm congratulating you on your success because I know what it takes to get to that point and to see these elements. Exactly what you're talking about is so right on. I love it very much.
And it's scary. It takes a lot of courage to do some of the things. Like the first time you say no. Or giving up on your should life, which a lot of women are living a should life instead of the life they really want to.
That word, and HATE are not in my vocabulary, and they I almost said it, and they do not belong in anybody's vocabulary because they really are limiting, aren't they? We're shitting all over ourselves. Yeah. That's funny. Wow, the time is flying. That's amazing.
Yes, I know. I'm really enjoying this conversation.
I know. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
I love talking to people who are on the same energy level as me because, it just makes a really great conversation.
Right. Yeah. And not that we need validation because we understand that what we're doing is, divine intervention, literally, to help people and ourselves. But it's so beautiful to meet others who are stepping into this work. You're absolutely right. It's beautiful. So you've got something that we want. You got a beautiful free gift. Would you like to share it?
Yes, I have a beautiful free gift because I'm giving everybody 45 minutes with me.
It's amazing.
We can work on one thing, go deep and discover what the barriers are, what the limiting beliefs are, because we all have them. I find that sometimes people feel they have to be ashamed of these limiting beliefs. Don't be. We all have them.
Right. And that's why we need to go to people like you, because it helps support us to get beyond the limiting beliefs, doesn't it?
Yeah, so that you can find a soulmate. And I use that word. I don't really like that word, but there is truth to that in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. So what one message, you've given us so much, what one message would you like to leave us with?
I want everyone to know that your personal value is priceless. Okay. And only you allow someone to diminish your self-worth. So don't let anybody do that. Wake up, smile, make a positive change, and repeat daily. You'll feel so much better.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Susan. This was really beautiful.
Thank you, Mia, for having me.
Thank you. And everyone, have a beautiful day, and thank you for joining us for Natural Balance. Bye.
Bye.